Hello everyone, welcome back to Bits and Bob's Divination. My name is Caitlin and today we are going to be looking into your next 2 weeks to see what energies, insights, and guidance are coming in as well as your fortunes. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so welcome back to the channel, anyone who joins me for these Monday readings. It's lovely to have you guys back here today because we're going to be diving into the next 2 weeks, which I have so much fun with these weekly readings because they're more chill. We just get to see what's coming in, but it's also always sort of a surprise to see what comes in as well for each of you. So we're also going to be looking into your fortunes today as I made each of these little fortune cookies, which I had so much fun doing. It was very impromptu, but I hope you guys enjoy them because I have put a lot of love into them. And they are actually going to be your piles here today. So I will go through the piles here in just a moment, but I do want to say a huge and warm welcome to anyone who is new. If you're curious what else happens here on this channel besides these 2-week readings, I also do monthly readings on your monthly blessings and these 2-week readings and also timeless readings. So if you're interested in the different timeless readings I do, I have like what you're most proud of, your psychic and magical gifts and abilities, where your love is coming in, and what makes you most attractive. So if any of those or all of those or other sorts of ideas that you have interest you, feel free to subscribe and join on in. And also, if you have been here for a while, feel free to hit the notification bell as well so that you can be notified of each of these videos as I put them out in real time. So yeah, I'm really excited. Let's go ahead and start diving into these piles. So as I mentioned, we have each of these different fortunes, but I'm not going to actually open them now. I'm gonna leave them as a fun little opening during each of your piles, which I already opened each of them, so it's gonna be a lot of fun. But to keep it as a surprise, we're just going to look at each of the different colors. So right here we have a more, I would say like a doodle print. It looks like doodles everywhere. So if this specific cookie sort of interests you or you're feeling your intuition buzz with this one, then this is pile number 1. For pile number 2, the fortune cookie that you have has like this red, smoky, kind of ethereal vibe to it. But that is pile number 2. And then lastly here for pile number 3, we have like this textile pattern of a blue and these little highlights of red. But that is pile number 3. But before you go ahead and make your choice, let's go ahead and take a deep breath together so you and I can ground ourselves and you can make a better decision on which pile is really speaking to you. So let's go ahead and take a deep and cleansing breath here now. And as always, there is no right or wrong way to choose your pile. You can choose 1 pile, 2 piles, all 3 piles. You can choose a pile, change your mind, flip-flop as you need to. There is no right or wrong way to do this. But if you already know which pile or fortune is for you, feel free to go down in the timestamps down below or use the chapter marks provided within the video. Also, if you already are down in the description anyways, feel free to check out the different decks and supplies that I use if you're already curious. Or also you can check out how to get different private readings for me for spiritual messages, for mundane messages, for love, for anything under the sun really, because that'll all be down below as well. And I even provide ones that aren't just more email or DM based, but I also provide ones that I send to you in the mail, which is a lot of fun too because I can send magical goodies as well. So if any of that interests you, that'll be down below. But we're going to go ahead and get started with pile number 1. Hello group 1, if you've decided to choose this more doodle-like fortune cookie, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to go ahead and set it down right here for you so you can see it during your reading today. And we are actually going to open it and see what fortune is inside. But before we do, I'm going to go ahead and pull all of your cards so we can see it all together. And then pull your fortune at the end there. So today we're going to be using the charms, the watercolor affirmations. We're also going to be using an experimental kind of new thing that I haven't done before, where I actually am going to use 2 tarot decks, and I'll show you why in a minute. But the 2 that we are using is the Everyday Tarot, and then we're also using the Goober deck or the Star Sister Tarot. So some of you might not be familiar with this one because it is actually a tarot deck that my amazing sister made for me for Christmas. So super excited to get this out here today for you guys. And we're also going to be using the Secret Garden and the Celtic Lenormand deck. So we've got a lot we're going to go through. We're not going to be using the letter tiles today, but we are going to play around with your fortune. So today, with the 2 tarot decks that we're using, though, we're actually going to use this one to find the highest energy for the next 2 weeks for you. So we're going to be looking into what is going to be the major theme, the highest energy, what's coming through the strongest for group 1 here for the next 2 weeks. All right, so you got here the 8 of Cups. That is the highest and strongest energy coming through for you for the next 2 weeks. And we're also going to look into the other sorts of energies that are coming in to accompany this energy using this deck. So let's see what comes in for you, group 1 here, for the energies, insights, and guidance coming in for group 1 here for the next 2 weeks, heading into Taurus season. So group 2 here. What do we need to know? Sorry, group 1. I was thinking Taurus and 2, but group 1 here, what are we seeing? Ooh, I'm feeling this one right here at the back. So you also have the 7 of Cups. So having both the 8 of Cups and the 7 of Cups, that's an interesting layering that's happening here. So we'll see more into that. All right, let's see what else you got here. Okay. So you also got here the 3 of Wands. So you have both the 7 of Cups, the 3 of Wands, and the 8 of Cups here today so far. Let's go ahead and see more of the energies coming in with the Celtic Lenormand. So feel free to send your guys' energy in on through too to see what else is coming in for you. I always think it's really interesting to see how your energy can play with the space here. So group 1, we're looking for any information, energy, insights, or guidance coming in for group 1 here for the next 2 weeks. So here you have the home or the house, or even like a little cottage hut, whatever you want to see it as here. But within each of these Celtic Lenormand cards, they also have numbers and playing cards associated with them. So this one has the King of Cups or the King of Hearts here. And then you also have the number 4, which is all about stability and a very like stable energy. And then here for your last oracle message before we do your affirmation and your fortune cookie, we're going to see some more insights here. What do we need to know for group? Ooh, you had 2 here. Okay. For group 1, you have Dare, Take a Risk, and Fly. This one has actually been coming out quite a bit lately, so I think that's really interesting, especially since we're still kind of in Aries season with that like daring energy. And then you have Success, Bloom wherever you are planted. That's interesting too with the house. We're going to go ahead and dive into your watercolor affirmation and your fortune cookie, but stay tuned later on because we will be doing your charm casting, which is going to have a lot of the little nitty-gritty details. But let's go ahead and see for the next 2 weeks what affirmation does group 1 need to hear for the next 2 weeks. Group 1, what do we need to hear for group 1 for the next 2 weeks? 2 weeks for them. Group 1. Okay. You also have here, you are manifesting. So a more magical or law of attraction type of message here. So you are manifesting is coming in, which is really cool because you have success alongside it. And then what you guys have all probably been waiting for, we're going to go ahead and open your fortune cookie. So each of the fortunes that I placed in each of these were actually randomized. So I found a bunch of different fortunes and wrote them all out and stuff. And I just randomly chose one. So this is the one that you guys got here today. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up. And you have here, no rain, no flowers. So what I always think is funny about fortunes in general, especially in fortune cookies, is they don't always really reflect like an actual fortune. They tend to be kind of like vague or just an affirmation in a way. So here you have no rain, no flowers for your week, which totally makes sense with your highest energy. So let's go ahead and start diving in here, group 1. So right off the bat, like I said, we actually have quite a few different energies that are coming in. So I feel like some of you are feeling very daring, feeling very like motivated, but you're not really sure where your motivation should head you, like where you're heading towards, because something is kind of blocking that motivation, that success, being able to bloom where you're planted, because where you're planted right now isn't stable enough for you. It doesn't have a stable place for you like this 4 in this house is wanting you to have. There's movement coming in with the 3 of Wands. So a needing to move, a needing to take a risk, a needing to fly away from the nest, fly away from a space where you are too comfortable. That's what I'm seeing here. You're just too comfortable where you've already been planted, and it's almost like to be successful, even though it says bloom wherever you are planted, I feel like with that no rain, no flowers, you just need to spread your wings and fly somewhere else. So basically what I'm trying to say here is you have the 8 of Cups, and the 8 of Cups as your highest energy is about hiking away from something, moving away from something that isn't working, where you were planted before. The soil isn't good, maybe there isn't great communication between your flower buddies in a way, like whatever it is, like in an analogy kind of sense. Basically where you're at, where your home base is, it's not stable where you need to for what you're wanting to plant within the next 2 weeks. So this could be a small goal. It could be something for work, it could be something for your home, it could be something that you're trying to bring in and manifest at this time in love or whatever it is for you, whatever that goal and motivation that you have, that you have a heading towards, because the 3 of Wands, usually they're standing there ready to navigate, ready to head towards a new adventure. They have an idea already in mind, but they're just not sure, what boat to set sail on, right? How to get there. And a lot of it comes from needing to, your boat can only carry so much, right? You can only pack so much in a home. So what do you really need for this to manifest forward? What do you really need to be able to hike up that path? You can only hold on to so much. So there's emotions that maybe you need to let go of. Maybe there's some forgiveness that needs to happen at this time, because that no rain, no flowers is making me think as well that, for something to grow, you do need better soil. You need all of these different things to grow. But on the same token, to have flowers grow, you have to have the rain. You have to have the harder moments, right? Because that's what that saying is all about. But I do think that the path that you are on right now, you're trying to hold on to just too much. And that rain is actually there to wash away what isn't working. It's there because you have too much in your pack, especially because also the 7 of Cups talks about indecision on where you want to go. Again, another 3 of Wands, indecisive. You have something in mind, but you can't go towards it because there's just too much. There's too many cups. There's too many ideas. There's too much you're trying to maybe even manifest forward. Maybe you need to narrow your scope and just focus on one thing, one flower, versus an entire perfect garden. And I feel like I'm kind of talking a lot in analogies here today. I'm not really sure why. Your pile's just really giving me that, like, you almost need those analogies to kind of figure out where it's actually showing up in your life, because sometimes we can say all these real world reasons why you need to hear these messages, but sometimes it comes down to needing to hear it from a different perspective, that we finally see it actually happening in our lives. So that's, I think, why I'm getting that feeling to talk to you guys in like these analogies. But with success, I do think in the next 2 weeks, you are going to have success once you do plant whatever it is you're planting. You just need to narrow your scope, choose a little bit less to be planting, so that when you are heading on your journey, whatever it is that you're ready to hike out onto with this highest energy, whatever this new hike, this new adventure is, it can be stable. It can be a place in which you can, but instead of trying to grow a whole mansion or trying to have, stability in something so huge, it's actually better, and you're going to be more successful if you try to narrow your scope a little bit. Try not to make the mountain so high, because you can take risks and dare and fly and everything, but the higher your altitude is, the higher it is for that success to go down as well. So if you're really trying to manifest something forward, you're going to really have to think it through on what that is. And the other thing too about the 7 of Cups is it does talk about fantasies or seeing things from a fantastical point of view, a more romantic way of thinking, right? Not just like in a romance way, but just like you're romanticizing your life, which sometimes can be really helpful when you need that, when you need to bring that energy to the table because like, maybe you just don't feel like your life is so great right now and you need to romanticize it to find the good in it. But if you already feel like you're in a really good spot, the problem is possibly that you're just dreaming a little too high, that your success rate might be going down farther, but sometimes we learn and we're more successful with the failure. So it's kind of up to you if you're going to take the dare or if you're going to maybe lower it down, lower your scope so that you can, make your success a little bit higher. But you might learn more if you dare. So it's kind of up to you at the end of the day, especially since each of you, I feel like, are going towards a different goal. Some of it may be romance, some of it may be trying to make a more stable job. So whatever it is, certain ones will kind of need different energies. So definitely take what resonates and leave what doesn't. But I'm going to go ahead and move on to your charms here, group 1. You have an interesting energy. Like I said, I really think this 8 of Cups is just a lot about letting go of what you don't need at this time because you're kind of holding on to a little bit too much. That you need to let that like cleansing rain come in for those flowers to grow. But let's go ahead and move on to these charms. So group 1, let's see what's coming in for the next 2 weeks for you, group 1, the next 2 weeks for you, group 1, what do we need to hear for group 1, an energy, insight, or guidance for the next 2 weeks? Ooh, that's interesting that your highest energy within your charms is actually empty, almost like you are emptying out some of these cups, that you are putting down a bit of that energy that you almost don't need anymore there. That's really interesting that that happened for you, especially with that highest energy you had. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up some of these and then I will zoom you guys in so you can see what's going on here. Okay, so a bit of transformation, lots of linked energy. That's interesting too. Okay. All right, so not a whole lot. Honestly, you don't have a lot of charms, but like I said, you were trying to kind of lower the amount of things you already had going on with the amount of cups you had, so it actually makes sense to me. But there's nothing here missing on the full moon, so you don't have to worry about that. But let's go ahead and dive into the different quarters that we kind of have showing up here. So what I think is interesting right off the bat too is that you have 2 charms showcasing temporary energy, holding on to something for a limited amount of time, right? So like I said, you had too many cups, too much that you're trying to look into, too much. I'm actually just going to go ahead and put this right in the middle for you guys. But, paper clips aren't meant to be like a staple. Like a staple, you staple those pieces together, they're together for a longer amount of time. But a paper clip is meant to be able to be malleable, that it can change, it can continue to, you can take pages out, you can add pages in, right? So whatever situation you are in, you're definitely still early enough in those stages that you have the ability to leave behind what you don't need, maybe carry it for a little while, drop it off, come back to it, right? Nothing has to be set in stone in the phase that you are in and what you're trying to dare to do, what you're trying to hike out into, what you're trying to, branch yourself out into. Whatever it is, it's very it has that malleable energy to it. The other energies that you have coming in too is the feather, which can represent signs coming in from spirit, especially with a feather, and it usually has things to do with them communicating, because feathers have to do with communication because of birds. So you may have communication coming in, especially with spring songs, because of a songbird is what I'm really hearing right now. So listen to the music that you're listening to, see what signs are coming in or any guidance that's coming in based off the music you listen to, instruments, or maybe what you're being guided to is music in and of itself for this specific goal that you're heading towards. Maybe you need to simplify your music or something like that. on a more specific note. The other thing you have here too, though, alongside that dare to fly energy with that success too, is you do have here the Capricorn. And so it could be a Capricorn coming in within the next 2 weeks to help bring forth this ambitious energy. Because it does say here ambitious, if it'll show up for you guys here. There you go. So it says ambitious for Capricorn. So there may be a person who is a sun in their sun, moon, or rising sign, a Capricorn, or they have that Capricorn type of stable energy. Because like I said, you need more stable energy in your life. So maybe a Capricorn is going to give you advice on the dares and that risk that you're taking. And try to help guide that. So that's interesting too, that came in here for you. Alongside that too, in terms of maybe people that this may relate to with the Capricorn energy, is you do have the honor thy mother and thy father charm, because it says here honor thy mother and thy father, and then this little landscape here with the mother and father and their children. So it can be a mentorship kind of vibe, because mothers, fathers, mentors, guidance, guardians, that kind of thing. But on top of that, you have it near the new moon. So again, cleansing or letting something go. So there may have been opinions that came in from a mother or father or guardian figure that you're trying to, let it go for right now, or give forgiveness to them, because you are ambitious and you want to head towards your goals, and they may be trying to not necessarily hold you back on purpose, but they may be trying to make your hills a little less rocky, and you might be fighting them, or there just might be some sort of tension there. So there might be something you need to cleanse or forgive, or let that rain come down and cleanse that. Maybe there's a need for some really emotional conversation, a more difficult conversation that needs to be had within the next 2 weeks. On top of that, though, with the honor thy mother and thy father too, just in general, you may be seeing a mother or father more recently within the next 2 weeks, especially if you haven't seen them for a while. So that could be also a really lovely news as well, because the new moon on top of cleansing also does mean a new fresh start. So you are turning a corner there. And then lastly here with this little cluster, which I thought was interesting, is you have both the chains that I have within my sets. You have the golden chain, which represents success, heading towards success, having to do with finances or on a more financial note. So you have that one. But then on top of that, you also have the chain of events that happen. But these aren't like events that are in your control. These are events that are happening because your guides are heading you towards something or heading you on a path for your highest and greatest good. So you have something happening behind the scenes that are helping you within your heading and helping to guide you there, which kind of relates again to that message here with the feather. And then lastly here, actually not lastly, there's two here, but you do have around both of those chain clusters, the success one and the spirit one, is the transformation charm or the transfiguration charm. It's about something being one thing and then using the same energy to transform it into another, because this used to be a spoon, and then it was a pendant, and now it's a charm in my charm collection. So it's about reusing the resources you already have. So if you're feeling a little bit lower on money right now, maybe you have to be a little bit more creative with the things that you have. Maybe you already have something, like they said, ooh, that makes me think, it makes me think of that, where that came in with that success. Bloom where you are planted, where you may need to head forth on a new journey in terms of the things that you're holding on to. It also can be that you need to transform your mindset on what you already have. Maybe you don't need more cups. Maybe you just already have what you need. So I think that's interesting too. Especially since it has to do with that success and has to do with heading towards success, which actually is leading towards the first quarter moon, which is about taking action. So you definitely are heading towards a goal that actually is going to start manifesting or moving forward. Cogs are going to start moving as long as you let go of a little bit or transform the things that you already have. And then lastly here you have the tie charm or ties, old ties. So these are things that are just still holding you back because you have these old ties with someone or with something, maybe with an old job, an old career, old classmates, crew, whatever it is. There's just something still there, which we already kind of talked about with that 8 of Cups. and that need for movement or change or transformation for you to actually be able to manifest what you're wanting to within the next 2 weeks. So, wow, yeah, you guys have such ambitious, such daring energy for your next 2 weeks. I hope you guys got what you needed out of this reading. Please let me know in the comments down below if you did. I'm always curious to see what you guys thought of these, maybe about the highest energy, all that kind of stuff. Or if you want me to do more of these fortunes, I'd love to make more of them for future readings. So let me know in the comments down below your guys' thoughts and feedback on the reading. But like I said, you're heading towards a more stable place, a more successful place, a more grounded place. But a lot of it has to do with letting go of things that aren't working for you, or transforming the things that you already had so that they do work for you, so things can be more successful, but yet you can still start heading towards what you're really wanting to manifest or wanting to head towards in your job, your career, romance, whatever it is. There is success there. It just has to do with letting things cleanse, letting yourself go of the baggage that's kind of holding you back. So like I said, let me know in the comments down below what you thought of this reading and the fortunes. Very curious. Also, please be sure to give this video a like if you did like it. I always am so appreciative. So thank you to everyone who has liked the video. It really does help this channel continue to grow, and I appreciate it so much. And lastly, if you are new to the channel, big, huge, warm welcome. It's lovely to have you guys here because it's always lovely to have new people, I suppose. But also, in case you're curious, I do monthly readings, weekly readings like this one, and I also do timeless readings that you can check out on, like your spiritual and magical gifts and abilities, what makes you most attractive, spirit guide messages, and so much more. So if you're interested in any of those, feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my future uploads. And with all of that said, I think I've said everything. I hope you guys enjoyed this reading, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Hello, Group 2. If you've decided to choose this more smoky red fortune cookie, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to go ahead and set your fortune cookie right down here for you. And don't worry, stay tuned. We will be actually opening that up later on in the reading to see what's inside for you. But we're going to be using the charms, the watercolor affirmations. We're also going to be using the Celtic Lenormand deck and the Secret Garden Oracle. And we're actually going to be using 2 different tarot decks, which I don't normally do. But I really wanted to play with the energy of 2 different tarot decks together and see what happens. And honestly, when I was trying to choose which tarot decks to choose, these 2 were just like coming out with the exact same cards. Like, they were super excited to work together. So I've decided to use the Everyday Tarot as well as the Sister or Goober Tarot, the Star Sisters Tarot, whatever you want to call it. I still haven't really chosen a name for it, but it is the tarot deck that my amazing sister made for me for Christmas. So we're going to be using that here today, which I'm really excited about. But before I yammer on anymore, we're going to go ahead and start looking into what this deck has to say, which for this specific deck, we're actually going to just pull 1 card and see what comes in for your highest and greatest energy, the most poignant energy that's coming through for you for the next 2 weeks, Group 2. So what do we need to know for Group 2 for the most intense or most prominent, more like energy that's coming through for Group 2 within the next 2 weeks? So Group 2, what do we need to know for Group 2 within the next 2 weeks for their highest and greatest energy coming through? The most prominent energy for Group 2. Alright, here we go. We have here the 5 of Wands. There you are. So there is the 5 of Wands. So that's the highest and greatest energy that's coming through, the most important energy that's going to be most relevant. But then we also have the 2 different other energies that are coming in beside it. So let's see what else is coming in for energy, insights, and guidance coming in for the next 2 weeks for Group 2 here. What do we need to know for Group 2 with this 5 of Wands energy for the next 2 weeks? And I always invite you guys to send your energy through as well, through time and space, and see what comes forth because of that energy coming through. So feel free to send it on in and see what comes through for you, Group 2. Okay, so you also have the Star. What a lovely card, right? The Star is all about hope and renewal and second chances. So let's see what else is coming in for you. Okay, so we're going to take this one here. And then you also have the 10 of Swords. Ooh, with that 5 of Wands, 10 of Swords, and the Star, definitely already getting a narrative that's coming through. But we're going to see what else is coming in with the Celtic Lenormand deck. So let's go ahead and do that. So any energy, insights, or guidance coming in here for Group 2 for the next 2 weeks. Group 2, Group 2, Group 2. Okay. Ooh, so you have the Stork. This one honestly doesn't come out very often, which I think is kind of interesting, but you have the Stork here, and with each of these Celtic Lenormand cards, they do come up with different numbers that may associate to you. So we have the number 17, and then the playing card association of the Queen of Hearts or the Queen of Cups. So that is the Stork. And then we'll go ahead and get your final oracle card before we do the affirmations and your fortune cookie here. So let's see what's coming in for you for the next 2 weeks. Group 2, Group 2. What do we need to know in accordance with that 5 of Wands energy? 5 of Wands, the next 2 weeks for Group 2. What do we need to hear here? Okay. So here is yours. So we have here surprises. Interesting. Venture down the rabbit hole with surprises. So that always makes me think of like a birthday is a present or big surprise parties or something like that coming in on a general sense. But let's go ahead and see your watercolor affirmation. So group 2 here. So we have here pause in the stillness. This is about grounding yourself, being meditative, being mindful of the space around you, and taking a pause, taking a step back. So you have that coming in here alongside surprises, which I think is interesting too. And now we're actually going to go ahead and open your fortune cookie. But before we do, I do want to remind you guys that to stay tuned for the charm casting, couldn't come up with my words, for the charm casting later on in the video, because that's where we get all of the nitty-gritty details. So stay tuned for that, but let's go ahead and move on to your fortune cookies. Let's see what's inside. I went ahead and randomized a bunch of interesting fortunes and chose one for you guys here at random. So we're going to see, well, actually kind of intuitively, but we'll see what comes in here for you. So you have here, we are all made of stardust. And I think it's funny that the ones that I kind of came up with here for you guys are all very fortune cookie-esque in the fact that they don't really tell you your fortune. They're more fun and interesting affirmations. So here we have, we are all made of stardust. So yeah, let's go ahead and start diving into your messages, Group 2. All right, so let's start with that highest and greatest energy that you had coming in alongside this 10 of Swords. So what I'm seeing here is there is conflict or change or feeling stuck in the middle of a big conflict that's happening possibly around you at this time. So maybe you're not directly part of it, but you're feeling very stuck in the middle, like this wand here in the middle, very, very stuck in the middle of something that you can't control. This could possibly be stuck in the middle of, big conflicts that are happening around you in terms of your family members or your friends or even relationships that you have around you, co-workers, bosses, anything in between really. But somebody is either you or someone around you with this 5 of Wands. Like I said, you might be surrounded by them, are feeling very hurt, feeling very down, very just like really down, very deeply down. And that's what I'm really getting here, is just that there was this argument there, that there is a need for forgiveness or a need for getting back up again, a need for like healing mostly. So what's great about this, though, is with the 10 of Swords and with that 5 of Wands, where there may be this battling, this heat, this, like, intense energy, this, like, a lot of, like, swords and things just being thrown about, you do have, at the end of these 2 weeks, a cleansing that happens. So you have the star, and the star is about guidance, feeling very guided, but on top of that, it also talks about hope. You know, you look to the stars and you see hope, or you look to someone who can be a hopeful figure in your life, or some little glimmer, some sort of hope that can come from pausing that stillness, seeing the world around you, and realizing that you don't have to be in the middle of it too. That's what that I'm seeing here, is if you feel like you're in the middle of an argument, that there are ways in which you can still step away. I know it's not always easy, especially when you're very rooted, especially like with divorces or other sorts of things where you just really are very rooted in the situation. It's very hard to be objective. It's very hard to just take a step back. But you're being very much asked to look at the bigger picture, especially with the star and the idea of we are made of star dust. And star dust, like I said, it kind of also makes me think of home. It makes me think of things that are happening in the home, because when I think of stardust, it makes me think of like going back to your roots in terms of the universe, right? Like we are all made from stardust. We all started at one point as just the dust from an old star, and then that came into our solar system, and then we all just showed up here as the humans that we are, right? Confused, we don't have a manual, but we came from somewhere. We all came from one thing, and we all can come together at one point again and have the hope that things can heal. You know, there's also the idea with stardust too that's making me think of like there's always, you know, change, like progression. Things are going to keep changing no matter what. That's a constant in our lives. It's something that we can always be certain of, that change is just going to happen, that surprises are going to come across us in ways that we weren't expecting. And it's about how we embrace the change, how we allow it into our lives and find it as a strength rather than a weakness, or find it as something that we're already ready for. Even if we can't control change, it's something that we can be more ready for, something that we can have more hope in, and actually see it as a positive thing coming in. The other thing too here is you have the stork, which talks about migratory changes, right? Because this is about moving away from something, even physically moving to a new place, a new location. Like I said, this could be happening within the home or within your home life, or something that you're very deeply rooted in. And this is you changing up your roots, moving away from the situation, possibly because you're talking to a therapist now, or finding a way to talk to someone removed from the situation so you can find that hope for that guidance to come in, for that advice to come in, so you can cleanse and move forward. Because I do think you're just kind of stuck in the middle of a situation that just can be very draining for you. And so also with the pause and the stillness, I think it'd be great for you to take up meditation within the next 2 weeks, mindfulness as well. So mindfulness, just taking a moment, just taking like literally 5 minutes to separate yourself from the situations that you're in, and just seeing the positives in life in a way. So like just truly listening with your 5 senses and seeing what comes forward in a very meditative way. So if you've never meditated before, definitely look up mindful meditations on YouTube or something like that, so you can find ways to escape. Even if you can't physically move from your location, if you can find ways to escape inward, could also be great coping mechanisms for you that could be more healthy when they're rooted in mindfulness and rooted in gratitude for what you do have. Removed from this entire situation too, if you're working on a project or something like that too, there is like a this like migratory progress that's happening too. So this like something that you're nurturing too, because storks can talk about babies, can talk about pregnancy, they can also talk about just finding new roots in something. So that's really cool too. And then also you have surprises that was showing up. So like I said, there could be a new surprise that's coming in. So there could be because it does say venture down the rabbit hole too, it makes me think that you're venturing down into a new way of thinking, something that you were more surprised about. Like you're surprised you could possibly even move from the situation or remove yourself from it, or finding new ways is actually going to be maybe a surprise to you in a way that you hadn't before thought about something. So it can be internal surprises as well. But with all of that said, group 2, I'm going to go ahead and move on to your charms. And we're going to see some more of those details to see what else is coming in beside this 5 of Wands highest energy. Because just because we have that highest energy coming in, there could be other things that are coming in on for you as a more personal note. So let's see what's coming in there. I'm going to go ahead and put this right here so it doesn't fly away. All right, so group 2. Let's see what's coming in for the next 2 weeks for you, group 2. And energy, insight, and guidance for group 2 here. Okay, so we have a few that came in, but not a large amount, to be honest. So I'm going to go ahead and sort those out so we can see everything that's coming in here in more detail, and then I'll go ahead and zoom you in. So here we are. So there's nothing missing that is not in the zoomed out space. You don't have to worry about that. But like I said, you have a very small amount, but a lot of them fell in your central ring. So this could have to do with the things that are happening within that situation that you're feeling very like kind of almost claustrophobic energy is what I'm getting. Like you're just feeling really, really rooted in it in a way that you didn't want to be. So there is a change that's coming in because you do have the growth, but it is also about change because it's about like a leaf, right? They just kind of, they like in the fall, they just fall and they allow themselves to go back into the earth. There just is like that renewal, that like longer renewal that happens with that stardust message. So something that takes maybe a longer amount of time, but healing does come. So that's really wonderful to see that kind of hope coming in. And alongside hope, you also have the faith charm. So if you are a more spiritual person, it can be that your faith is going to be at the forefront of your next 2 weeks, something having to do with faith, maybe even how you are changing or progressing within your spiritual or religious mindset and the things that are happening there. So there could be progress and progression that's happening there for you, which is really cool to see as well. You do have the letter O coming up here as well. So this could have to do with names or places having to do with the letter O, people's names, street addresses, anything, companies, whatever it is. But there is, again, a new fresh perspective, a new perspective, a new surprise that's coming in, because you do have 2 different perspective charms showing up here. The out of this world charm about seeing things like from a very, very big, broad perspective of like the whole universe, something really big, really more philosophical even. And then you also have the charm of the Eiffel Tower, which is about seeing things from a higher perspective as well. So I really do think you're moving as well, because you're moving your perspective because of this not only being a perspective charm, but also being one in a different location, or a more like travel location. So I do think there could be travel coming in with the next 2 weeks too, that actually creates this surprise, this change that comes out of nowhere, but is actually going to bring hope and guidance to your path, which is cool to see as well. And then lastly here within your like very central ring here, the heart of the next 2 weeks for you, is the kindness charm. So even though you are surrounded by a lot of conflict at this time, a lot of change, a lot of need for change and healing, there can still be kindness and friendship and people to still talk to and form bonds with and form new healthy ways of communicating with, which is really cool to see for you, that you had the kindness charm come in. And kindness doesn't come in without honesty. So just because you can be honest with someone doesn't mean that you aren't being kind. That's another thing that I felt like needed to be said. But with the kindness charm too, it can be that someone is bringing in kindness for that new perspective to come in. Like I said, a therapist, someone, a third party, someone outside of the bubble, that it will give you that new perspective too, which is really cool. So look out for people who might be on the outside looking in. That's going to be able to give you a better perspective, especially in terms of your own personal growth and also in terms of your faith. The other thing too, although beware with faith always, if someone new is just bringing in a fresh new perspective, make sure there aren't any red flags there as well. Trust your gut, trust your intuition there. You do have the spring forward charm. So this is about something being jump-started, fresh, new perspective too, which makes me think of that venture down the rabbit hole, right? Because they're jumping, that spring kind of energy of a rabbit. So something that you're nurturing, a new project possibly that you're working on outside of this entire situation of the Five of Wands that you're maybe working towards, which also makes me think of pile number 1. So there might be more of a nugget there for you guys to check out with pile number 1 in terms of that specific situation that you may be wanting to manifest or move forward in, that it may have been feeling stuck and stagnant before, because this is the stagnant charm, or the like snowy weather charm, like you're just stuck in the snow, you can't really get out of it, that blizzardy feeling of like cabin fever. So things are springing forward, things are lightening up, which is really cool. And then lastly here you have the past self charm. So this can represent, especially with, and this is me, in case you guys are wondering, this is me in my past self form. So when I was in middle school, so little tiny Caitlin here. But this is also to show you that you're going to be looking back at your own personal self-growth, your own personal goals and things that you're heading towards, or even looking at your childhood, or looking at your younger self, your past selves, even in a past lives of kind of way. Something like that is being reflected upon. So within that reflection that you may be taking, maybe you're looking at old journals, maybe you're looking at more meditative past lives kind of thing, whatever it is for you, there is courage and a need for a younger perspective too, to look at things from a younger perspective of courage and that anything could happen, right? That believe in yourself that happens, that foolish energy of the Fool at the beginning of tarot, because you do have the Simba charm, and he, even though he has all these responsibilities, one day to be a king, to one day be, you know, this huge person within the middle of the situation that everybody turns to, at the same token, they used to just be this young little spirit. So where does your inner child within the next 2 weeks need some feeding, need some help, need some nurturing and some love? So what did your inner child or your childlike self want and need, and have possibilities and have this higher thinking that you possibly aren't allowing yourself to have now? So definitely look into that. This is more of a reflective message for sure. But what do you still need to nurture for your inner child at this time? But with all of that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the messages that came in and through today. I did definitely have fun experimenting with this new style, with using the 2 different tarot decks and the higher energy. So let me know in the comments down below if you enjoyed it as well, and also if you'd like me to do it in the future, and also if you enjoyed the fortune cookies. And if you did, I'd also like to do those again. So let me know. I'm always curious your guys' feedback on how all of the different charms were seen, your own personal perspective, how your intuition interacted with the different intuitive messages that came through my personal perspective for you guys. But with all of that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this reading. Like I said, there are surprises on their way, but I think a lot of those surprises are good in terms of a fresh new perspective. That's like the highest energy that's coming in with your charms, is a fresh new perspective, and also nurturing your inner child, as well as finding forgiveness or finding a way to, you know, find new roots outside of this situation with this Five of Wands and the Ten of Swords, and new hope and guidance from people that are outside or a third party to the situation. So definitely look into those messages. But with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and just remind you guys also to feel free to give this video a like, as it really does help this channel continue to grow, and I appreciate it so much. So thank you to everyone who's liked or commented so far. And also, if you are new and this was one of your very first readings here, I really do hope you enjoyed it, and a huge welcome. If you're interested in more readings like this one, I do these weekly readings every 2 to 3 weeks, and I also do monthly readings as well on your blessings for the month. And I also do timeless readings on your psychic and magical gifts and abilities, what makes you most attractive, where your luck's about to change, and other ones like it. So if you're interested in any or all of that, feel free to subscribe. I'd love to have you guys here to join this wonderful community. And before I waffle on anymore, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Hello group 3, if you've decided to choose this blue fortune cookie, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to go ahead and set your fortune cookie down here, But stay tuned later on after we get some of the cards pulled, because we will be opening that to see what's inside, which has been really fun so far for the other two readings. But let's go ahead and start diving into yours. We're going to be using the charms today as well as the watercolor affirmations, and I'm also experimenting a bit with pulling two different tarot decks out today because they really felt like they just needed to work together. Like there was just something about that, so I just decided to use my intuition here, and we're using two different tarot decks. The first one here is the Everyday Tarot, and the other one is actually a tarot deck that my sister made for me, which I call Goober, so we call it the Goober deck or the Star Sisters Tarot, which has been so much fun. I love pulling this one out. And then alongside that, we are also using the Celtic Lenormand deck and the Secret Garden Oracle. I just realized there was a charm over here, so I'm went ahead and pick that one up real quick so you'd have it for your reading. But before I waffle on anymore, let's go ahead and get started. So with this specific deck, we're actually only going to pull one card, and we're going to see your highest and greatest, most poignant or most prominent energy coming in for the next 2 weeks. So let's see what's coming in. Feel free to send your energy through the screen and time and space to see what's coming in for you. It's always interesting to see what energy comes in when you guys, interact with the reading in that way. So let's see what's coming in for you for the next 2 weeks. We're only looking for one, so I'm going to keep going. So group 2 here, or group 3 rather. Yeah, I was actually really feeling this one, so I'm going to actually pull it out. So you do have the Hanged Man. So that is the highest and greatest energy that's coming in for you, group 3 here. I don't know why I can't get your guys' number down. It's like in my head, but when I say it out loud, it's like 2, because I'm thinking 2 weeks, I guess, but we'll keep going. So that is your highest and greatest energy coming in, but we're going to see 2 more cards to see more on the situation within the next 2 weeks having to do with this Hanged Man energy or Hanged One energy. So group 3 here. What do we need to know for group 3 for the next 2 weeks? Group 3, the next 2 weeks here. So you have the Queen of Swords. Let's see what your final message is here from the tarot for the next 2 weeks. So group 2. Okay. Group 3, goodness, I can't say your guys' number correctly today, so forgive me for that, but it is in my head, so that is coming in on an intuitive level. But we have the 9 of Wands. So the 9 of Wands, the Queen of Swords, and the Hanged Man. Interesting. Okay, so let's go ahead and start looking into your oracle messages here. Group 3. So group 3, what do we need to know here for you, group 3, for the next 2 weeks? Group 3, let's get some more information on this Hanged Man message for group 3. Okay, this one was really flipping out. Okay, so you have the chickens or the birds within Lenormand, and with each of these Lenormand cards, they do show off a playing card association and a number. So we have the number 12 here, as well as the 7 of Pentacles or the 7 of Diamonds. So that may resonate different for each of you, so feel free to just kind of look into that. But there you are with the chickens or the birds. So let's go ahead and see your next oracle message here with the Secret Garden. Group 3. What do we need to know for group 3 within the next 2 weeks? Group 3. Actually, I'm feeling this one right here. Okay, so you have retreat. Never underestimate the power of a quiet moment. Definitely resonates with that Hanged Man message or the Hanged One. So that's kind of cool too. And then I'm actually going to take this top one as well, which says present. Journey into the garden to escape two eternities, the past and the future. So it's about being mindful in the present. So it definitely feels like a lot of even 4 of Swords energy is what I'm seeing too. Rest and like restoration. But let's go ahead and pull your final message here before we do your fortune cookie, and we'll also be doing the charms later on, so stay tuned for those because it's always interesting to see the little details that come in for each of you. You always tell me all the time about the different details that you see in the charms, so it's really fun to see. But let's see, group 3 here. What do we need to know for the next 2 weeks for group 3? What affirmation? Okay, so we have, interesting. Okay, so you have progress, not perfection. And then alongside that, you have live for today. So again, more present energy, being present, being mindful, looking into the day as it is, not trying to make it perfect. So that's really interesting that you had both of those come up. A lot of that energy is coming up for you. So it's definitely a highest energy that's coming in. But let's go ahead and look at your fortune cookie. So with these fortune cookies, I did fold these up and I did a little fun origami and learned how to do them, which was really cool too. But with each of them, I did intuitively pull different messages out for you guys and wrote them all down and kind of intuitively pulled them out and stuck them in. So let's see what you got. So here we go. So inside your fortune cookie lies easy peasy lemon squeezy. Such a fun fortune. I always think that fortunes are always interesting because you think they're going to be about your future, but they're always like an affirmation or something like that, right? So they're kind of misleading. But here you have easy peasy lemon squeezy. And so there it is, typed on out using my fun typewriter. I had so much fun making these for each of you guys. So definitely let me know in the comments down below if you'd like me to do more of these fortune cookies because I enjoyed it so much. But let's go ahead and start diving into your messages for the next 2 weeks, group 3. All right, so let's go ahead and start with your highest and greatest energy, or the most poignant or prominent energy for the next 2 weeks for you, and that is the Hanged Man or the Hanged One, which is all about a new perspective, a fresh perspective, as well as resting and taking that time in the stillness to pause and look around and see your surroundings and to look from a different perspective because you have the opportunity to do so. So maybe all of a sudden you have time free on your hands, or that you're going to make time for yourself to reflect, to rest, to calm down your life, because I feel like it's just been very busy, or you've been feeling very defensive about something at this time, because you do also have the 9 of Wands, which is being on the defense, feeling that you have to put up walls against other people, or hold grudges, or put things against you and a situation, you and an idea, you and a future you would like to have, because you possibly are just thinking too far ahead as well, you know. And so this is about taking time to be in the present moment as well, not just pausing in the stillness to think about the future or to think about the past, but to think about where you currently are, what you're most grateful for, how far you've come, but also just where you are currently, where you've gotten to, and what life is right now. Because sometimes we focus just too much on those two different things, like they were talking about here in that present card, journey into the garden to escape to an eternities, the past and the future. So you're just looking too much to the past or looking too much into the future, and that's causing you that need to put up these walls of defense against one or the other or both entities here, so that you're not allowed to actually enjoy the present moment, actually enjoy where you are, making it more easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? Like you're trying to make it more complicated than it needs to be. Especially because you had that progress, not perfection, charm, perfection card here. So this is about needing to allow yourself to not be perfect all the time, to allow yourself to sit in the mistakes that you make, sit in the failures that you make, and allow those to turn and churn into success, or into successes that are successes to you and in your book and your personal view of what success is, because there's no real way to hit perfection. Perfection is imperfect in and of itself. So if you're feeling like there's a lot of gossip around you, or other people that are putting you on the defense as well within the next 2 weeks, possibly a Queen of Swords here, which is a very intelligent woman usually, but it could be anyone really, doesn't matter the gender specific. But the Queen of Swords may be the person that's putting you on the defense because you feel like they have more they've gotten farther in life, or they have all this knowledge, or they're just better in some way than you, because you do have the chickens, and the chickens of all the birds are the most known for gossip, talking over one another, not really letting the other one speak, not letting them speak their truth. And this is all about communication, ways that communication comes across. So the people that you're communicating with right now are just not allowing you to rest, not allowing you to have the time to look at your your life from your own personal perspective, because they're putting too many of their own words in your mouth, putting too much of their own 2 cents in your way, putting too much pressure as well. I feel like there's a lot of pressure coming in, possibly from this Queen of Swords, or even if you yourself are this Queen of Swords in their energy of feeling very like everything has to be perfect, everything has to be well researched, everything has to just align absolutely perfectly in this beautiful puzzle that life is. But sometimes we lose a piece, right? Sometimes things just don't go the way they were meant to. Sometimes the manufacturer sends you two of the same pieces and not the one that you need, right? So where are you in the present, and how can you make things easier for yourself instead of more complicated? And then the other thing that's coming in too is that retreat. Never underestimate the healing power of a quiet moment. And then there's a door too. So alongside this, needing to not necessarily open up, because like I said, you're possibly feeling very defensive. That defense is also a way that you can put up this wall against the people that are harming your mental health at this time. And to bring in that present moment, to bring in that mindfulness, you may need to retreat. And that's not finding time to retreat, that's making time to retreat. So maybe that's retreating out to nature, where these people don't, really, they're not in your circle, you're not out with them. Or it can also be just retreating in general to another space that you feel more comfortable in, that you can feel like you can let your guard down in. So that is coming up here with retreat. And then you also have present and live for today. So again, living for today, being in the present moment, not looking towards the future or the past, being right here, right now. What do you smell right now? Like literally take a second. Like, what do you smell right now? What do you hear? What do you see? What are you grateful for in this present moment? What do all of the 5 senses, what are they teaching you? What perspective is it? And just in general, just being rooted and grounded in the present moment, at least 5 minutes a day can really help your mental health and really help you stay present, especially if you dissociate or you find yourself dissociating a lot from the present moment based off of your own personal mental health journey. This is a great thing to start implementing within the next 2 weeks, especially because you might spiral otherwise. So that's what's coming in a lot of need for simplifying, retreating, taking time off, allowing yourself to be in the present moment, to change your perspective and to see just where you are in this current moment. Yeah, that's what's mostly coming in here. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to your charms here for you, group 3 here, and see what else is coming in on a more personal note, or what other things come in here, especially with your inner ring that have to do with the heart of your week, or the heart or center of your week, or next 2 weeks rather, to make things easier for you and so that things can flow. So let's go ahead and see what's coming in for you, group 3. So group 3, we're looking for any information, energy, insights, or guidance coming in for group 3 here for the next 2 weeks of their life. So group 3. Okay, I'll give you guys some chunky charms today. So I'm going to go ahead and pick those up, the ones that fell off the board, and then sort out the ones that you already have here so that we can see more. You did have the defensive charm, which I think is funny, but it did fall upside down, so they may even talk about how things are changing or shifting for you. But yeah, you only had one that really fell here in the center. But yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and start looking into it. So I'm going to zoom this in, move your charms in so you can see everything. I might zoom you out just a smidge. So here we go. All right, so here in the heart of your next 2 weeks, we have the tied up charm, or feeling tied up in something. And this also makes me think of literally feeling tied back to retreat, right? Because that hanged one, that hanging yourself up in a way, getting hung up on something as well, feeling hung up on the past, hung up on the present, but not, or the future, but not in the present moment, not feeling very there. So again, it's just more that almost the exact same energy that was coming in from the Hanged Man. So nothing new there, but let's see what else is coming in here in your other sections. So, like I said, you had that defensive charm that came in, but it came in upside down, and it was right over here in this section of the board. I don't know why I couldn't say section, but this section of the casting cloth, and you have the imperfection charm or the insecurity charm. So like I said, your self-esteem maybe is just a little low right now because you've been possibly putting just far too much pressure on yourself, or others around you were putting unnecessary and unwarranted, unneeded pressure on you, because you have this safety pin, which is all about feeling safe, feeling very secure, having good self-esteem, and it's been bent, right? It's been bent. It can still be fixed, but it is, or be healed rather, but it is currently bent. You're feeling insecure. You're not feeling as secure as you could. And that may be because of the people that are around you, the team workers, your co-workers, the people that you surround yourself with, because you do have the busy bee charm, feeling too busy in life, feeling like people are just buzzing in your ear, telling you this, telling you that. Social media is saying this, ads are telling you that. The things that you're consuming and the things that are around you do truly affect you, not only on a conscious level, but on a subconscious level. And that's putting you again on that defense. But what you do have around this charm is the honeypot charm, which I think is really cute because it fell right next to the honeybee. But you have like the honeybee or the honeypot charm, which is about attracting in something better, attracting in better coworkers, attracting in better ways of viewing yourself, a new perspective on what you can be most secure about, what in your present moment you're most grateful for. And alongside that, what you're mostly putting in is hope. And I think this looks like a honeypot because it reminds me of Winnie the Pooh. So I don't know how that resonates for some of you, but personally, Winnie the Pooh, he's always think, right? He's not always in the present moment because he's thinking too far ahead. But this is about attracting in hope, attracting in time, attracting in a new perspective on the way that you can be present in your life and how you can work with other people in a different way. The other things that you have coming in on your moon cycle part, let's go ahead and move on to that. So you have near the full moon, the budding growth. So near a full moon within the next 2 weeks, which I think I'm pretty sure we'll be heading towards the full moon at that time, at least when this is first up. This may resonate depending on when you are watching this, as they are timeless. But you do have the budding charms. This is something that you're growing that is still at the very budding stages, but they are starting to manifest and move forward, which is really cool. So new growth, new seeds are being planted in your present moment. Instead of thinking how they're going to work out or how they got there, it's about just appreciating that they are growing in the first place. The other thing that you had here is the button charm right on the new moon, and the button, this one makes me think of old things that just, they're not working anymore. They've just popped off because this came from a pair of jeans that I just outgrew. I got too big for them. I just outgrew them. I was growing up and I outgrew these pair of jeans, and that's completely okay. That's completely valid. And you're outgrowing perspectives that once did work for you and once were really helpful in your life and were great coping mechanisms, great routines. But there's a need for change there, a need for a new cycle to come in, especially since you're heading towards this energy on the new moon. So as you head from the new moon, you're heading towards a full moon message of wonderful budding energy, like a new start, a fresh start, like a flower would grow. So there is a need to put something behind or just to let things go, to purge something so that you can have this come in. You have more charms leading towards letting go of perfection, because a lot of this has to do with the way that you feel like you have to be this perfect person. But we have here the fault in our stars charm, which is all about life not being perfect, life never having this perfect path. And not only that, but embracing change, embracing that we can change, embracing new perspectives, embracing the present moment, embracing that we have faults in our lives, that we are not perfect, that we aren't always going to be this amazing success story, and that the most people actually that say they are the most successful, or other people view them as most successful, comes because they came up with their own version of what success is. So that's also coming in here for you. And that might even give you a bit of peace of mind, because you do have the anxiety charm of feeling like this is like a worry stone. You're worrying about the future, I really feel like a lot of it has to do with the future for you guys specifically. But there's this worry, this insecurity, this need for perfection, and it's time to come up with some peace of mind, because safety and having things be perfect and feeling very secure in everything is just, it's not realistic. And that's coming from a Taurus. I'm a Taurus. I love my comfort. I love when things work perfectly. I love when everything can be perfectly in their order and everything's stable. But that's just not life, unfortunately, and we can't always have that perfect stable life. So if you try to make yourself at that highest level, it's just too much pressure. And this is about letting some of that pressure go this week or the next 2 weeks, especially when it comes to the community and the people around you and the pressure that they're putting on you, and that your success isn't defined on their version of success. So that's also coming in. And lastly, here you have the little trees charm, which does talk about, like, again, that budding energy, that little trees, but it also talks about a fresh new start, like a new car, right? Because this is like a car freshener. So you put this in when you get a new car, things are fresh, a clean slate, as well as feeling very relaxed and in the moment. This also makes me think that smells are going to be really important in bringing you to the present moment. So some people find the present moment, especially with mindful meditation practices, like I mentioned earlier, where you look through your 5 senses to ground yourself in the present moment. Smells are going to be really helpful for you. So making sure when you're doing your mindful meditations, maybe having a certain scent in the room, and using incense, using smoke, using steam, using just, smelling something that really makes you happy, whatever it is, and in whatever form you can have. I think that's going to help you gain that new perspective and ground yourself in the present moment for growth and change, because you also have the knight charm, and the knight in tarot can be very different, but the knight in chess is a little bit different, because they don't move just perfectly forward or like just one step at a time. They move forward and then move to the side, or they move up 2 and 1 to the side. So they're kind of sidestepping something. So for some of you, I feel like you're sidestepping the idea of needing to be present. So not only are you might already be aware that you need to have the present moment come in, and some of you guys are sidestepping it, finding a way around it, being like, nah, that's not for me. That's like woo-woo stuff. Like, what you really need to do, though, is allow yourself gratitude, allow yourself presence in the present moment, allow yourself to embrace the changes in your life so that you can continue to move forward. Otherwise, you're just going to keep having that night get stuck, right? It doesn't matter how many times you sidestep it. Eventually, you're going to have to land on that part of the board, and how you're going to face it and how you're going to see it is going to happen when it happens. But being just present where you are, enjoying the journey of life as you are, is going to be the most important. So I know I'm just kind of repeating myself here with the present moment, but I just think that is so important for you, specifically group 3. So definitely allow it in instead of being defensive against it, because I think that that's going to be the most valuable for you. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this reading here with me, group 3. Like I said, your main 3 things is about retreat, the present moment, and pulling yourself away from the idea of perfection and actually embracing change, your faults, embracing that side of yourself so you can have a new perspective there that isn't of the people who are kind of holding you back or the community around you that's trying to root you in those ideas. So I hope you enjoyed this reading here with me today. I really enjoyed reading for you guys. I really had a lot of fun with the fortune cookies and with the new format of the tarot decks here with the highest energy. So let me know in the comments down below, especially if you guys watch these more regularly. I'm very interested in your feedback on the different tools and changes that I've done here, but also just in general how you felt the charms and reading went for you. Also, please be sure to give this video a like if you really did like it. It helps this channel continue to grow, and I appreciate it so much. So thank you to everyone who's already liked the video. Thank you so much. And lastly, if you are new to the channel and this is one of your very first readings here with me, such a warm welcome, and it's lovely to have you here because I enjoy reading for anyone who decides to join in. So thank you so much for joining in here with me today. If you're interested in the other sorts of readings that I do weekly readings like this one, as well as monthly blessings and timeless readings like ones on your psychic and magical gifts and abilities, spirit guide messages, what makes you most attractive, love messages, all that kind of jazz. So if you're interested in any of that, feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on my next reading. But with all of that said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.